Let's create a tabby weave on our loom that we have recently warped. So to begin, we're going to take a long segment of yarn and snip it off. I start with, I think if you're measuring in arm lengths, it's about 3 arm lengths long. And you can see that I thread the needle here, and I'm not making any knots. Don't tie the yarn to your needle. And we're going to begin at the top of our loom, just underneath where we put the popsicle stick. And we're going to begin from the right side, and we go under, over each warp string, all the way from one side to the next. And then you'll carefully pull the segment of yarn all the way until you're left with a little bit of a tail on the right hand side. So you can see here in the video, I pull it until I get a segment about the width of your hand. And you can see now I'm showing how the weft yarn string is ending on top of the warp string. And so then I will go under as I go back the next direction. So the next way back, next trip across the warp strings, you're doing the opposite. So you can see I'm locking in as I go back. And that's how the tabby weave works. And you really kind of start to create a nice weaving because you're literally locking in the warp and the weft together as you're doing the opposite from one pass to the other. So you carefully will pull it back the other direction, being careful not to knot it. And then you want to be really careful when you pull this part, the selvage, you do not want to over tighten it like I'm showing you right here. So if you pull it too tight, you're going to get what's called hourglassing, and it will end up kind of going inwards on the inside once you get farther down. So you leave a little bit of a segment at the end. Don't pull it too tight, and then use your fork to beat. It's called beating. You will kind of push the ends together, and I'm showing you here right there that you want to leave that edge, a little segment at the end, but you'll use the fork to push the strands together. And then you're literally just going to keep going. On this side, you can see that I finished on top of that last warp string, and now I'm going to start going under. And you do, again, just the opposite from what you did on the last pass. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and speed through the next section. So you'll keep going back and forth all the way until you either run out of yarn or until you've gotten, I don't know, somewhere between a half an inch and an inch of tabby weave. That should provide enough practice to know whether or not you've really got the hang of the tabby weave. But in the video here, you can see me just going back and forth, making sure that each row is opposite from the prior row. Make sure that you don't pull too tight. Make sure your tension is consistent. Don't pull those warp strings too tightly so that they warp inwards. You want them completely parallel the entire time. Good luck continuing finishing out your tabby weave.